Isabelle Cole, or Belle, is an 18-year-old senior at Chelmsford High, the town she learned to call home. She has 2 loving parents and 2 supportive older siblings that have shaped the person she is today. Isabelle plays soccer, runs track, and loves to spend time with young children, as well as the elderly. Her greatest desire is to give people reasons to live and work towards a well-deserved recovery. She is very involved at her church and in her high school. Once she graduates, she hopes to become a social worker or special education teacher and is deciding between South Bay Regina University or Holy Cross. Isabelle founded her nonprofit organization, 13 Reasons to Fly, while receiving treatment for her mental illness. Welcome, Isabelle.
Not everything is as it seems. Everything we see, hear, touch, smell, and taste gets shifted through our lens, our perception. Perception is often different than reality. People often display only what they want, hiding or suppressing what they don't want people to know. Good morning, everyone. Thank you to the Department of Mental Health for the invitation to speak today and welcome you all, as well as to all the legislators for being here and supporting us. I'm so grateful to have the opportunity to speak on behalf of all youth who have received, are receiving, or will receive residential services of Massachusetts, as well as to shed some light and hope into the darkness and despair that often comes with mental illness. For those of you that have met me or read my bio, you may think I'm a typical teenager. What most of you probably don't know is that I've also struggled immensely. A few years back, my sister and best friend, Charlotte, was diagnosed with cancer, turning my family norms upside down. Thankfully, the cancer was treatable, and after 7 months of chemotherapy, it was in remission. At the same time, though, my brother was acting out, and between the 2 of them, my parents' energy was pretty much consumed, which left me, well, virtually growing up on my own. Before I knew it, I realized I was struggling too. After years of internalizing, perfecting, and piling up, I imploded. 2 years ago, I had enough, and I tried to end my life for the first time. I went to the emergency room, and a few hours later, they sent me home without any follow-up. Things seemed better for a few weeks, but then I was admitted to a locked inpatient unit at Franciscan's Hospital for Children, where I got even worse. This time, 2 years ago, you'd probably find me in a stripped room by myself with nothing but a bedspread and scars on my wrists, neck, and hands. Physical restraints were a weekly occurrence as my attempts and impulsiveness increased. I felt I had nothing to live for. The thing is, when you read my bio and hear my story, you probably don't associate these 2 people together at all. In fact, their lives don't seem alike. However, they are both part of my story. To share the negatives is something we rarely do. We are often taught that showing only one of these perspectives is acceptable, that we must maintain this perfect, happy appearance if we want to be liked. And I'm here to tell you that that is BS. The idea of perfection is great, but is it achievable, and at what cost? I fought for it for years, trying to be skinny, to fit in, to get perfect grades, to be popular, and sacrifice my health to get there. Even then, I found myself chasing this ideal, when in reality, there was no substance there. It didn't make me happy, or even fill the void I had in my heart. Truth is, everyone has a breaking point. I reached mine on January 11th, in 2017, and I was admitted into my first hospital and wouldn't return until September 22nd, 9 months later. Along the way, I didn't just obtain scars. I received cards, prayers, visits, and made some of my current best friends. I also learned a lot about myself. I learned that, wow, did I need help? But I also learned that, wow, I can help. After 3 months in acute care hospitals, I was packing my bags to transition into an intensive residential treatment program, or IRTP, at Taunton State Hospital as a result of my serious struggles. Little did I know, this stay would make up the most influential 6 months of my life. Short-term hospitals like Franciscan's, while there are many compassionate staff I was connected to, are driven by insurance. Ultimately, people that weren't at immediate risk to themselves or to others were sent back home. What changed for me was being introduced to the Department of Mental Health. I didn't realize it then, but this group were the first to care for me long term. When I transitioned to the IRTP, overseen by DMH, self-harm decreased immensely. I felt more stable and began opening up. Well, that definitely helped. Things were not easy by any means, but I began building a life worth living, and that is because of so many of the social workers and caseworkers and therapists that, like all those in the room today. I began chasing happiness instead of perfection. Late June, again, 2 years ago, I hit another rock bottom. I had been relying on eating disorder behaviors to cope, and yet again was in a strict room. That is when I decided that was it, and I'm not settling for this kind of life anymore. It was in that moment that I began to realize my worth. I took a pen and a paper and started to write. By the end of that week, I had the outline. 13 reasons to fly, reasons to live, and encourage others to do the same. I wanted to stand up for all my peers that had found themselves voiceless, too scared to speak up. It became my mission to share the hope that I had found, the hope that it took me months to recognize that was there all along, hidden behind my diagnoses. 13 Reasons to Fly also aims to stop the stigma that surrounds the very thing that I and millions of people are going through. The idea spread like wildfire to my surprise, and a few months later I was speaking with Isabelle, DMH Director of Program Management for Children and Families, and speaking at my first conference. Because of the Department of Mental Health, I have been able to articulate my needs and advocate for myself. Because of Janice LaBelle and people like you, 13 Reasons to Fly has grown into something big, certainly more than a suicidal, bulimic 16-year-old could have ever dreamed of. Because of your support, I have started several chapters of 13 Reasons to Fly at hospitals in Massachusetts, New York, and I'll be starting to speak at schools this year. Most importantly, though, it is because of people like you that I have had the strength and the inspiration to carry on, to conquer my demons, and to work through my struggles. You have given me hope on my darkest of days. DMH, all the social workers and counselors that I've had the pleasure of working with, have given meaning to the word coping skills that I had grown accustomed to tuning out. The idea of two or more coexisting ideas, as many of you know, is called a dialectic. There is an entire form of therapy based off this proposal, known as DBT. I'm glad all those hospital groups are finally paying off. So why is it that we try and defy that, show only one idea when both can exist? I found through treatment that our world is full of dialectics, as is mine. I am living proof that it is okay to not be okay. I certainly don't have it all figured out, although I like to think I do. Recovery is an uphill battle, but it is worth it. That is the message we should be posting about, preaching about, and living by. Come with me, let's rewrite society. Thank you.